Hello everybody. I wanted to do a review. I haven't done a review in a while. I wanted to talk about Star Wars Legacy Volume 1, Broken. So where do I start on this? I absolutely love Star Wars Legacy. It is one of my favorite Star Wars comic series of all time, done by Dark Horse. And this came out in either 2006 or 2007. And this took Star Wars to a new height. A very fresh era as well. These stories were the furthest to take place after Return of the Jedi in the expanded universe. In fact, it takes place, or this specific, where it starts off is about 125 years after Return of the Jedi. So yeah. All right. So what's happening in Star Wars Legacy is, I don't want to spoil too much, but this new Sith Order called the One Sith rises to power and allies with the successor state of the Imperial Remnant, the Reborn Empire, against the Galactic Alliance. And for those of you who have not read the expanded universe, the Galactic Alliance was the successor state to the New Republic. It essentially was the New Republic, but in a way. But I won't spoil what happens to the New Republic. But so anyway, and the Galactic Alliance is losing the war against the Reborn Empire and their Sith allies. And the Sith is led by this mysterious Dark Lord named Darth Krayt. Now, I won't spoil who he is, but the very beginning starts with the attack on a Jedi temple on Ossus, and the main characters like Cade Skywalker, who's the descendant of Luke and Mara Jade. He's escaping with them, and after some events, I won't say what happens, he gives into the dark side, and then he gets separated from the group he's with. And after that, that's where the true start begins. Cade Skywalker. Cade Skywalker is honestly one of the most interesting characters in the Star Wars expanded universe. I mean, he has real problems. Like, you can understand, like, why he becomes the person he becomes later on in the comic, because of the events at the beginning, after what happened to him. And it makes him a very well-developed, three-dimensional character. Now, I've heard people say, "Oh, Cade Skywalker's so edgy." Ugh. Well, at least he's a better character than Darth Emo from the sequel trilogy. Because, like I said, Cade Skywalker, this guy on the cover, he has reasons why he's the way he is. Kylo Ren's reasons aren't very well developed, unlike Cade. Oop. Dang it. Let me talk about Darth Krayt. Darth Krayt, he's really interesting because he's mysterious. You really want to know where he comes from. And not only that, but it hints that he is vulnerable. Krayt is all powerful, but at the same time he has this weakness, this disease eating at him. I really won't really go into really what it is, but there's a scene where Krayt is talking to ancient Sith, and it's interesting how they reject him because, you know, especially Darth Bane, because Darth Krayt, his Sith Order abandons the rule of two in favor of, you know, we're one. There is one Sith, the Sith Order itself, and we work together. And, you know, that's very different from, like, old Sith doctrine, rule of two and pre-rule of two, because the Sith were essentially rivals. There's a lot of other interesting looking Sith characters in here, like Darth Talon is a well-known one. She's a scary badass, but sometimes I feel like Darth Talon was a bit of fan service, considering the way she dresses. I think the writer intended for her to be more like almost like a tribal warrior, but sometimes it just comes off as if it's kind of like fan service in anime. I don't know. No, let's continue on. One of the Sith, Darth Nihil, I wish would have. He is a badass, but I wish he would have gotten a little bit more development in here. Let me talk about the art. The art is fantastic. This is some of the best art you'll find in a Star Wars comic. It is gorgeous. You have to see it. Look at that. That looks great, huh? I don't know who did the art, but whoever the artist for this comic is, it's really great. Now, should you read Star Wars Legacy, Volume 1? Yes. This is a fantastic story with great characters and a very interesting premise as well. In fact, this is a story that's one of the many stories that's just so much better than the sequel trilogy. And it's just fantastic. You gotta read it. Now, I would suggest that you at least read up to New Jedi Order before you start this, because they do several references to the Yuuzhan Vong War. And that's another interesting thing I need to get to. The events of, you know, the ending of Return of the Jedi and all that are still felt today and felt meaningful in this story. Even stuff like the Yuuzhan Vong as well. That felt like it had such a meaningful impact to this story. It still felt. Unlike the sequel trilogy, which the events of the original trilogy almost feel like they don't impact, they just didn't impact anything. So, yeah. All those events feel significant and hold relevance to this story. Unlike the sequel trilogy, which, when you're watching, it's like, alright, here we are at Empire and Rebels again, so what happened at the end of the original trilogy, its effects are pointless. So yeah, this is a fantastic story. And I was doing a reread of it, at least the first couple of volumes, for the past few months. So it's been a great reread, and yeah, check out Legacy, and I think you will be surprised with a great story. All right, have a good day, people.